Is an airship a viable alternative to ground transportation? I welcome you to the podcast about airships with your own words, which is dedicated to the project New Generation Airships. This is Alexander Mynko, its host. Let's begin. We thank Dmitriy Khmel for the information provided. He is the leading specialist in project management, deputy head of the laboratory. Speaking in general, air transportation is an alternative to ground transportation, and it is successfully used. Many people fly by airplanes. As a rule, airline tickets are more expensive than ground transportation tickets, but the conveniences that airplanes provide make it all worth it. Therefore, airships will definitely be used as such an alternative to ground transportation when they prove their competitiveness with air transportation. First of all, airships should be compared with helicopters, because airships can take off and land vertically, just like helicopters, unlike airplanes. And they don't require airports and terminals for loading and unloading either. Airship shares are necessary in the permanent operation of an airship so that it can be safely stored and maintained. And loading and unloading can be done on unprepared or poorly prepared sites. Therefore, the answer to the question, will airships survive, will be answered when we show airships and demonstrate their effectiveness as an alternative to ground and air transportation in speed, environmental friendliness, economy, and comfort. The ability to balance a load by aerostatic force without expending energy is a major advantage of airships. At the same time, they have a long range and good speed. Versus, for example, many ground-based models of transportation, the speed of an airship can reach 100–150 km per hour. They may well become the new air fleet for people and the transportation of goods, including oversized cargo. In terms of fuel costs, the alternative will be maximum at cruising speed. And this cruising speed will be in the neighborhood of 100–150 km per hour, perhaps even higher for airships of large cargo capacity. Therefore, if you compare them with road or rail transport, airships are quite competitive in terms of speed of cargo delivery, and even more so with sea transportation. Now let's speak about the cost of transportation. So far, airships have not been created in large numbers. When their production becomes serial, the cost of transportation of cargoes on airships of large carrying capacity will be less than the cost of transportation by road or rail, much less by sea transport. In the long term, when using large airships, their cost of production will become less, transportation will be more profitable than by helicopters, almost by an order of magnitude. Then airships will compete with the cost of transportation by mainland airliners, especially if we take into account the cost of airport infrastructure and its maintenance. And this will happen when the issues of optimization of airship operation will be solved, and sufficiently extensive infrastructure for this purpose will be created. It is worth noting that the airship is safe due to the fact that even if all engines fail, there are no catastrophic consequences. Nowadays, quite a lot of money is paid for a flight on an airship. For example, look how much a ticket for an hour-long excursion in Friedrichshafen costs. And you have to sign up in time and wait in line. So the attractiveness of air tourism on airships will lead to their use as a means of transportation, both for personal and corporate use. That's why we see such prospects for airships. And in order for this to start happening, the first steps need to be taken. Right now, this is just being done by people who are associated with aeronautics and who are researching these issues theoretically and practically, implementing them on the airships that we are making. Here is an example from our practice. An airship flew from Kirzhach to the town of Zhukovsky for the aerospace salon. It flew there faster than a simultaneously departing car, moving at the maximum possible speed, taking into account road traffic. Airships of even small payloads could provide transportation between megacities, where infrastructure is congested. Of course, this would require airship drones remote from cities. But they could do the delivery of cargoes themselves by hovering over or landing at the necessary sites. So in principle, such an alternative to ground transportation is possible. It is necessary to provide good flight characteristics, sufficiently acceptable speed, so that the meteorological dependence of the airship will be comparable to the meteorological dependence of helicopters and airplanes. And then the operation can bring a lot of benefits to people. Our next podcast will be about operating airships in the city.